T-Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. You're now entering the booth. Hopefully, you're having a great Tuesday morning. I am. So thank you all for tuning into the show. Had to drop that little intro before we get started. Today, we got a good few different topics on the agenda. I'm going to run through those really quickly and just tell you what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about Black History Month. I just want to share my own experience with Black History Month, but we're also going to talk about Alex Rocha and Terrence Crawford, Deontay Wilder making peace with Tyson Fury, David Carr and Carson Wentz, and also another update on Adrian Broner. So let's go ahead and start with the light topic first and get into the NFL action. First thing we want to discuss is Carson Wentz was released by the Washington Commanders today, and it's really not surprising, simply because his performance was pretty much up and down. This is his third or fourth team in 3 years. So basically, his performance just hasn't been there after a really good start in Philly, even leading them to a really good record before getting hurt on their way to the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz has been downhill since. For the most part, I feel bad for him because I felt like he was a pretty good quarterback coming out of college. Even though he didn't have the big game experience of playing, big time D1 football. You feel me? That being said, I still felt like he could be a good system QB if he's put with the right person. And he enjoyed some of that in Philly, but he hasn't been able to capture that magic since. So from here forward, he's probably going to be a really good backup, somebody that you could give a small salary who could come in and win you some games if your actual starter gets hurt or is unable to play for one reason or another. He could get you, a 3 or 4 game, nice, good run before teams catch up with what he's doing and start to figure him out and give him problems. So that said, good luck to Carson Wentz. He seems like a really good guy. I think once he got those knees injured, an important element of his game disappeared also. And then he really had to focus on the passing side and he wasn't as mobile, and that just kind of messed him all up. I could see a team like New Orleans or any team in the South might want to pick him up as a backup because, again, he's somebody that could win you some games, and you're not going to need to score a lot of points in the South in 2023. The AFC or NFC South is not going to be a shootout type thing. So a guy like him who could lead your offense to 20 to 28 points a game could probably do you well in a 3 or 4 game stretch in the pinch. So we'll see what happens with Carson Wentz. Now, Derek Carr, I keep trying to call this guy David. Derek Carr is out there in free agency. He was released by the Las Vegas Raiders, and he's going to be looking for a job here. Well, he's actually job hunting. So he's met with the New York Jets, and for what I understand, they rolled out the red carpet for Derek Carr. I think Carr is that next tier quarterback. I don't know if I put him as the top tier, like tier 1 QB, but I definitely put him in the top 2 tiers. He's like just below tier 1 and not quite in that second tier because he can pass. He's mobile. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. And when he's given the right tools, he can make shit happen. So very interested to see what's going to happen with him. He's supposed to talk to the Saints at the NFL Combine. So I don't know. I know the Saints have genuine interest because there's a big QB need, but I don't know that they're going to meet his salary demands. From what I understand, he's wanting around $35 million per year. With the way the salary cap has been increasing, that's actually not unreasonable because there's $50 million a year QBs out there. But I don't know that the Saints want to commit that when they have to overhaul some other areas of their roster and they need to make sure the offensive line is good. But 35 isn't bad. They're looking at probably close to 25. I think if they could get him down to 30 or 32, I think 32 might be the magic number to get him in-house. And he'll understand that we need this money to make sure we got you a good tight end. We got good reserve linemen just in case guys get hurt. And we're also going to make sure that we can pay for good defensive pieces that are going to get you extra possessions. So obviously, y'all know I have a vested interest in the Saints because that's my team. But hey, it is what it is. That's I'm going to roll with what I know. And I know the NFC South and the AFC South because I live in the South. So I pay attention and I watch a lot of those games because they come on network TV near me. I see Texans games, I see Cowboys games, pretty much anything Southern, I'm going to see it. But for Derek Carr, I would say that from a franchise standpoint, New Orleans is a better fit. From a financial standpoint, I think the Jets might be willing to pay more. And looking at some numbers shared with me by a friend of mine, Jamie Arms, he was saying that the Jets threw to multiple receivers more often, whereas the Saints really locked in on Chris Olave. I don't think you can go wrong with the number one receiver on either team. I just think Olave is better. And I think that if the Saints keep Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry is still there, Rashid Shaheed, and things like that, maybe even Deontay Hardy, you've got some deep threats, and Carr can throw it deep. He doesn't really have a jump ball threat in that group, but they can go and get one, and may even get Kevin White in there. He can just run past dudes and just catch it downfield instead of being dinked and dunked to by Andy Dalton. So a lot of different options on the table if he comes to New Orleans. And then he's probably going to have a fresh running back because Alvin Kamara is more than likely going to be suspended. So I want to see how this is going to play out, but I'm hoping that New Orleans can get him and they don't have to break the bank to do so. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. I want to talk about Black History Month. Now, if you saw recap and you thought he's going to come in here and he's going to give all these historical fun facts and all that, I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to take a minute. I have a platform. I want to take a minute to talk about the way Black History Month has changed over the years. I'm African American. If you can't tell by the avatar, if you've never seen me on camera, I am an African American broadcaster here. So I have a very unique experience growing up in America. I lived in New Orleans originally, and in New Orleans, there wasn't a lot of diversity in terms of my neighborhood and my general environment. I grew up around family, very close to all my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. I have one sibling. And we had a very tight-knit group. Even though it was a large group, it still was tight-knit. So I wasn't exposed to a lot of diversity growing up. Besides, my teachers typically didn't look like me because I went to private schools and Catholic schools and stuff like that. So we would do these Black History programs. And when I say it was night and day, when you went from like the regular public schools in the urban neighborhoods to the private schools in the more mixed like suburban neighborhoods in New Orleans, the Black History programs were very, very Black in the urban neighborhood. I mean, lift every voice and sing. And, they call it the Black National Anthem and all that. I don't believe in that. But the way the programs were ran, the speeches, the people that we targeted, every year you had a Martin Luther King, a Malcolm X, a Frederick Douglass, and a Harriet Tubman in the little school play and stuff. So that was my experience growing up with Black History Month. It was very specific to that. But then when I started to branch out and go to these public schools, these private schools outside the area, the way that they celebrated was totally different. There was all this different diversity kind of interspersed into it. And it was just weird to me. I never could get with it. And then my, passion for celebrating the month just kind of waned over the years. Long story short, father goes military and I moved to a super melting pot, which is the military community. And Black History Month pretty much became an afterthought. Now, it's not to say that I don't recognize and acknowledge. It's just the way that I recognize and acknowledge is different. I don't try to put on extra because it's that month. I feel like I'm entitled to certain things. I just think that it's an opportunity to see all the great things that are being reflected on by other entities like sports media and news media, putting all the different stuff out, giving fun facts about different people that have done great things in the history of African Americans, especially in the United States. So that's my experience with it. Would love to get yours. If you're listening on the replay, drop your comments about what you felt about Black History Month, whether you're African American or not, just your thoughts on what it means to you. Definitely interested to hear. Now, keep in mind, this isn't an opportunity to be a racist motherfucker. This is your opportunity to share your own thoughts and your own feelings and keep it, keep it clean, keep it PC, and keep it respectful. That's our goal here. But I'm just interested in everybody's experience and, just have a good dialogue about it. So we're going to change from that and switch gears and talk about some more things happening in sports. And let's talk about Adrian Broner's recent comments. We did a video on this already, but I want to open the live discussion. And we talked about it a little bit on the live. Number one, let's pray for AB. Hopefully things will get better for him. But one thing I want to talk about is, can he retrace his steps back to PBC now that he's kind of jumped out the gym and said some things that he says were misinterpreted? I think people misinterpreted them on purpose, but he basically said he is fully aware that he probably isn't owed any money by Al Heyman. So, and I think that tends to be true. I don't believe that Al Heyman owes him anything with the way that he said that he was pulling money away from Al. I really think that he expended all of his finances and now he's just kind of out there in the wind, needing opportunities to get the money back. He thought BLK was going to be the lick, and it turns out they weren't the lick. They ended up not being able to deliver on the things that they promised to him. So for me, I don't feel like he really said anything wrong by leaving PBC the way that he did. I feel like he just saw an opportunity to get back on his feet. He wanted to get his own money independent of Al Heyman, and it just didn't work out. I think sometimes we make mistakes in business and in life, and we should be afforded the opportunity to be able to go back and say, hey man, I messed up. Can we work something out? And I think Al Heyman is a businessman. If he sees an opportunity to make money with AB, I think he's going to do that. I think he's going to do it. So, and I think the Can Man could get back to making sure that anybody can get it. I just want to see him get in the ring a couple more times. He's already almost 35. He's up there with Crawford in that age group. Retirement is around the corner. I don't know that he has the interest in being like a broadcaster, but I think he could bring something interesting to doing like fighter interviews or behind the scenes stuff with fighters. Like there's a role in boxing for him outside of the ring. I just don't know if he has the interest, but it'll keep him busy. It'll keep him traveling. It'll keep him focused. And I think because of that, we might not see him a spiral like he did because he has a reason to stay on the go. And sometimes the idle mind is the devil's workshop. And I think sometimes that's gotten the best of Adrian Broner. So hoping for the best for him. I know I've been talking about him a lot lately, but man, I pray for that brother because I want to see him win. I just want to see him do well because I do understand he's a father and a family man, and I hope for the best for him. All right, so other topics on the agenda. Deontay Wilder was in Saudi Arabia for the Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight. And he was walking into the arena and standing along the side, I guess like the red carpet, the entry area, with Tyson Fury and his people. And he starts to scream out, bomb squad, to get Deontay Wilder's attention. And Deontay graciously acknowledges him, steps over, gives him the one hand, dap up and the hug. And then he kept it moving. There's a lot of people that have an issue with that. One specific channel that I watch, Knockout Boxing TV. I like everything that Knockout does. I love his debate series and all that. I do disagree with him, and we talked about it in his comments. So this isn't like I'm starting a creator beef, but I want to share his sentiments, and then I also want to share mine and maybe get you all to share what you think. So Knockout feels like because Deontay was so loud about the disrespect he felt from Tyson Fury, and he was so loud about the cheating accusations and allegations and all that stuff, that if he was going to make peace with Tyson Fury, he needed to be loud about that and say, hey guys, I grew up, I messed up, I'm wrong, instead of having his fans going tooth and nail online and in public about him, for him to, without any warning, just show up and make peace with Tyson Fury. I understand where Knockout is coming from. And I don't disagree with what he's saying specific to that point. You were so loud about all these different things why you dislike this man and the disdain you have for this man, and then you suddenly show up in a peaceful state with no explanation to your fans or no warning ahead of time. people are going to feel some type of way. Maybe in a couple of days, they'll kind of scale back and think about like, you know what, well, he really don't owe me an explanation. That man, he breathed his own air, he chew his own food. So we really can't make that decision on how he went about that. Now, for me, I already had the impression that, okay, I listened to him talk about in a couple of interviews before the Elenius fight, where he was talking about making peace with a lot of things. And he went through a lot mentally after those 2 losses to Tyson Fury because he was on top of the world. And, he did the ayahuasca. And when you go through spiritual awakenings like that, you sometimes find things inside yourself that you never knew existed. And I think that that's just what happened. And he was like, hey, man, I'm going to put it behind me and I'm going to keep it moving. If I fight Tyson Fury again, there's no animosity anymore. This is just an opportunity to do something we love and get money. So I think that's what happened with Deontay. I don't believe that he was in the wrong. I just think that he made peace with it. And then in the public way, he kind of let his fans know he made peace with it. And he was ready to move forward. He got bigger fish to fry. If you listen to his interviews, he's looking at things kind of post-career in a way. Like it sounds like he's going to be doing something to help fighters. He's going to be doing something to move the sport of boxing forward because he feels like the sport takes so much from so many. He's going to be looking for ways to help the sport give some stuff back. I'm feeling like that's where Deontay's at right now. And I believe that that's going to be the thing that is going to really solidify his legacy as he head into the Hall of Fame. That's really what I believe is going to be what does it for Deontay Wilder. So I don't really have a problem with what happened with the way he handled that. I also don't disagree with what Knockout was saying. I disagree with the people who feel like it should have been smoke, some type of nasty attitude, some ugliness when he saw him. I completely disagree with that. Because number one, you're on foreign soil and you are fighters. Anything could go left at any time. Tyson Fury already banned from the U.S. You could tell he's a DGAF person. He don't care. So let's say Deontay jump fly and then Tyson Fury jump fly, and now you got fisticuffs on a walkway for no damn reason. So I don't think that there should have been a whole lot of negative energy between the two. But I do think maybe he should address it with his fans and say, hey, guys, I'm sure you saw the video, XYZ, I dapped Tyson up. This is where I'm at mentally. I'm not harboring those feelings. I've made peace with that situation, and I'm moving forward. I do like a point that Knockout made. He said that he probably needs to show that he's made peace with Mark Breland as well. And I definitely agree with that point. So hopefully we'll hear something from the Bronze Bomber about, whether or not he's made peace with Mark Breland and what he's going to do going forward. So our final topic for today, we're going to talk about the WBO and their decision to order Alexis Rocha to fight Terrence Crawford for the WBO welterweight title. So let's do a little bit of history here. Talk about the WBO rankings. I don't like this fight for a couple of reasons, but the first thing is rooted in the timing of it all. So the WBO typically orders are mandatory every 9 months. They had not done so in the welterweight division, partially because they have a super champion who, from what it appears, was pursuing a unification with Errol Spence Jr. for his 3 titles, the IBF, WBC, and WBA, which he earned in 2022. So dating back to November and December of 2021, Virgil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis were ranked number 1 and 2, respectively, in the WBO. If you look at the WBO rankings in December of 2022, Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz were number 2 and 3. I'm sorry, number 2 and number 1, respectively, in the rankings. They had not moved in over 12 months. Terrence Crawford had one fight in that time, and he chose to fight David Avanesian. Jaron Ennis eventually chooses the IBF opportunity and takes the interim tag, fighting Karen Chukajan, and becomes an interim champion, basically champion and waiting for Errol Spence to either lose the title or vacate the title and move on to 154 pounds. Pugilism, what's up with you, bro? Let me get your comment on here. It says, Mark Breland was at Sweet Pea's Wake here in Norfolk, fellow 84 Olympic brother. Yeah, man, I got respect for Mark Breland. If you didn't know, Sweet Pea is my favorite fighter. And I do believe that if Deontay Wilder has made peace with the Tyson Fury situation, and Tyson Fury specifically, I do believe he should go and make peace with Mark Breland and let the fans know that, you know, these men have decided to come together and let bygones be bygones. I don't know if there was cheating or not. I can't get into, you know, tainted gloves, tainted water. I don't have any say-so on that because I thought the third fight was very decisive. I thought Deontay came in very well prepared. It's just Tyson Fury's a better boxer. But that was kind of just my perspective on that. I think if he's letting it go, he needs to let it go with Mark Breland too. But back to cooking on Terrence Crawford and who his next opponent is going to be. Now, here's my thing about that. So the WBO rankings didn't move for 12 months straight. So you're looking at that and you're going, okay, maybe they're going to do some type of eliminator. So you have number one face number two, which would have been a great fight. If you order Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz to fight at some point in 2022, I think that would have been fun to see because there's a great style clash. You've got a come forward fighter with a tough chin and some heavy hands in Virgil. And then you've got a fairly slick boxer who can, you know, use stance switching sometimes to his advantage. Sometimes it's reckless, but, you know, he's kind of agile. He uses pivots and angles. I think that style clash will be a really interesting match. The WBO could have ordered that fight, but they didn't. So Virgil Ortiz decides to pursue the WBA angle, and he goes after Umantas Stanionis to fight for his Reggie belt, the regular title behind Errol Spence. I think that's a really good fight as well. Now, this is a clash of similar styles, and I can't wait to see that on April 29th, and it's here in Texas. So there's a good opportunity. I'll be in the house for that one. I think it's going to be a barn burner too. I don't know if they'll be able to knock each other out, but I definitely feel like if it's 12 rounds, it's going to be rock 'em, sock 'em for a good 4 or 5 of them. So Virgil chose to go that route. In the meantime, Jaron Ennis chooses to fight Karen Chukajan for the IBF interim title, and now he's a champion. So that means he's falling completely out of the WBO rankings. A month later, after he falls out of the rankings, the WBO orders, they elevate Alexis Rocha to number 1 because keep in mind, Keith Thurman was number 3. So Jaron Ennis falls out. So you still have your number 1 in Virgil and your number 3 in Thurman. Both of them have title fights supposedly scheduled, definitely Virgil. Thurman, we're still waiting for the final confirmation, but we hear he's fighting Errol Spence. And they're fighting at different organizations in the WBO. But neither of them has actually entered the ring. So they got dropped in the rankings to 2 and 3, and Rocha gets elevated to number 1. So the timing of this, I don't understand it. I don't get why they wait until these other fighters have agreed to other fights to make this happen. And I think part of my issue is maybe because everybody had questions about how Keith Thurman got elevated in the WBC to the number 1 spot, but nobody's necessarily questioning this particular move, and I don't know why. I also want to address the misconception that Terrence Crawford has run everybody off the WBO route. Everybody's taking this easier route, and I disagree with that too. I think that you've got one fighter who has 3 belts, and you've got one fighter who has 1 belt. If you fight Errol Spence and you're going in there, all 3 belts are going to be on the line. If I have an opportunity to align myself to fight the guy with more titles so I can get them all in one night, I'm probably going to go that route. If there's a unified champion and then 2 single belt champions, I want the unified guy first. Number one, because if I go and negotiate with that other champion, I'm going to have some form of leverage. And two, shit, he already did the heavy lifting. I mean, let's be clear. You don't want to take more damage than you need to in pursuit of the titles. And Virgil's a little bit younger, and Joanna is a little bit younger. If they could get 2 or 3 belts and maybe even 4 at 147, by the time they're, say, 27 years old, they could go and pursue greener pastures in 154. Both of them are big dudes. So you can see they're both going to get to 154, maybe even get the middleweight before it's all said and done. So in my opinion, there's an opportunity for them to get as many belts as possible at 147, see if there's an opportunity for undisputed, and then go into 154 and go after them belts that Jamel's probably going to vacate in the next year or so anyway, when he moves up to 160. So I don't know, pugilism, what do you think? Is the timing of this order a little bit off to you? Does it seem a little bit weird that after the 3 other guys made other arrangements that the WBO elevates Rocha and then orders a fight, even though they could have ordered a fight? Let me see. Crawford Porter was 2021 in November. So that means that 9 months after that, they could have ordered a fight. So if November 2022 was a year, that means around September or August, they could have ordered Virgil or ordered Boots to fight Crawford then, instead of him ending up fighting, what's his name? David Avanesian. So I think that the timing is a little funky. I'm not in complete agreement with the way that they set this up, but I'm also against the idea that all these guys ran out of the WBO rankings because there's some type of fear. Because how scared are you? How scared are you to run from Crawford to Spence? And these are the 2 best welterweights in the world right now. Like, that's like jumping out the frying pan into the fire. You know, you're not really getting it easy here. You know, you're going from East Hell to West Hell. That's really how I equate it. You getting a tough ass fight no matter which dude you jump in there with. So I tend to just completely disagree with the mindset like, hey, these guys are running from one fighter or the other. I just think that the opportunity to get more access to more belts just lies on one side. And that's why I went that way. You also look at Virgil didn't go after Spence necessarily directly. He went to a non-PBC Al Heyman fighter by going to, I don't know where Pro Bellum is now, but Imantas Stanionis is formerly Pro Bellum. So they went with a promoter that they could do business with easily. Boots went a Showtime route, which has an affiliation with PBC, which is where Errol Spence fights. So I also feel like they just took the path of least resistance in terms of paperwork. And I think it was just set up for a good opportunity for them to make it happen quicker, get a chance at a belt, because Virgil could be a champion by the end of the year now. And Boots is already a quote unquote champion, and the sky's the limit from here. So that's just my opinion. That's my perspective. I think we're going to leave it right there. We did our 30 minutes for today. So we're going to wrap it up. This has been the Mic Check Podcast with your boy T-Word, the People's Champ. I do appreciate y'all for listening, watching, however you want to call it. Your feedback is definitely welcome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to go ahead and hit y'all with this outro, and we are going to call it a day. Until the next time, y'all. Peace.